Hi, I'm Shay and welcome to Front Porch Guitar Picking. Today we are going to learn our second song. And much like Old Paint, this is an older song written about the turn of the 1900s. And it was written by a guy named George Scroggie, although nobody remembers him because it was really made famous by Joan Baez when she did it in the 70s on a recording. And the song is called Farewell to Tarwathie. And this, like Old Paint, we're only going to use two chords, but instead of using D and A, we're going to use D and G for this song. So a little bit of a change up. And like a lot of old songs, it's written in that 3/4 kind of waltz time. So it's going to be bass, strum, strum, alternate bass, strum, strum. Give you a chance to practice that. Now, if you're wondering, we've gone over how to do alternate bass strums for the D and A, and I think the E too. What about the G? I mean, here's the bass for G. This is the chord we're going to be using, right? First finger, second finger, third finger down there. Well, that's your bass note. There's nowhere to go lower. So what is your alternate bass? The alternate bass for the G is actually coming up here and playing the D string, the 4th string. So it'd be G strum, strum, D strum, strum. So I don't know how much we'll get a chance to actually use the alternate bass for the G chord in this song because most of, I think, all of the key chord changes here, the G is only really for one measure. But we will definitely use the D alternate bass. So just like with Old Paint, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through the first verse and I'm going to sing it so that you can know where we're at. And just like Old Paint, I have done my special tab for you. Where the chords are called out and then the slash slash. The slash slash indicates the strum strum. So the chord letter is actually a bass note, whether you're using just regular bass notes for this, for the D would be the D and the G would be the low G chord, note. And then the slash slash is just the strum strum. And I've put them pretty close to where you'll be changing so you can kind of follow along. And I'm going to post the link to this, like I did with Old Paint, down below. Okay? So download this, get it on your iPad or your tablet, or print it out the old-fashioned way so that you can have a hard copy to make notes on. And because we're going to be, like Old Paint again, we're going to be having part 2 for this song. This is part 1, basically how to play the song and get you practicing the chord changes between the D and the G chords. And what we'll do in part 2 is add some embellishments that are going to have you stretch a little bit and maybe start doing a little finger picking. For that, to pick out a little melody line, and we'll talk about that in the next video. But for this one, let me go over that first verse. It starts on a D. I encourage you by this point to go ahead and use the alternate bass for that. D strum strum, A strum strum. Well, farewell to Tarwathie, Doom Ormond Hill, and the dear land of Crippen, I bid ye farewell. We're bound out for Greenland and we're ready to sail, in hopes to find riches and hunting the whale. That's the first verse. And they all go pretty much similarly. And I'm sure, I don't know how big of a Joan Baez fan you may be, whether you like her or not, you can still listen to her recording of this song written by George Scroggie and get the idea of the song. Now again, I used my capo because I want to teach you in D and G because we know those chords. And for a lot of you, you're going to be able to sing in that key. But I used the capo because I needed it to come up a couple of notes for some of the low notes. So if we take off our capo and we look at where we're going, all of the verses are the same and they're all just like the first one I played. So you're going to be playing the D with the D string strum, strum, bass strum, strum. And usually you want to introduce any song by doing at least a couple of measures of something, whether it's the first line of the song or something. This one we're basically going to start it simply. We're just going to do 2 measures of D, which is the D strum, strum, A strum, strum sequence. Okay, and then we're going to get right into the verse and singing. Now each line of this, I think they're all they're all exactly the same, so this one will be easy to memorize for you. Each line is 2 measures of D, okay, and 1 measure of G, and then it goes back to D, and each line is the same. So for the first line, you're going to be playing the D strum, strum, and then the alternate bass for that, which is the A note, strum, strum, the G strum, strum, and then back to the D strum, strum. And that's the way the whole thing's going to go. There's now, you know, there are, like a lot of older songs, again, there are probably more verses to this song than I have written out here. You can, if you really love it and you want to just sing it all day long, you could probably go on Mr. Google and find you know, other lyrics to go ahead and sing with this. But these are the ones that I know that I usually do. Do practice this with all the verses, and then you'll notice here I've got a little something else for the end. This is quite common too. If you're learning a song and you want to play it for people, usually it feels better than just kind of ending the song where it sounds like it's the middle or something, to come up with some kind of ending. Now a lot of songs that you hear on the radio, they may just fade out. Kind of hard to do when you're sitting on a front porch playing the guitar by yourself. So you'll need to think about this as you're learning songs. And all I've done here is repeat the first 2 lines of the first verse. Okay? And then end the song just by playing a couple of measures of D. So practice that in there too. Remember, use your alternate bass. Get your thumb strum, strum going for you. Use nice, even timing on your waltz time. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. If you're still working on that and you're still having problems with that, by all means, get your metronome fired up, whether it's one that's online, through an application, or just an old-fashioned actual metronome that you put a battery in and turn it on and it goes, and get it set to about the right tempo, which is kind of a slow waltz. And start practicing. Get on that front porch and have fun. And take care of each other, as always, next time.